Good Monday morning, Broncos country. We got some free agency news to talk about. Brandon Jones joining two of his other fellow Texas Longhorns in the secondary, rounding out a top three rotation of PJ Locke, Brandon Jones himself, and of course, Caden Stearns, somebody that I'm really high on. How do you guys feel about that? Please be sure to let me know in the comments how you feel about this. And of course, subscribe as we're on our way to 500 subs. The channel's been growing like crazy. So thank you guys. But man, I love this deal. Brandon Jones signing a 3-year, $22.5 million contract, base of 20 million, 12.5 guaranteed. And this is what we're talking about, taking a salary like Justin Simmons, who I love, and having a rotation of or being able to budget 3 players in for that same salary. I love it. And this is the type of stuff that you need to be doing when you're in a rebuild. You need to be taking salary allocation and breaking that up into more so bargain signings that are going to play a substantial role for us. So courtesy of Broncos Run Tree, let's play some highlights here of Brandon Jones, so you can kind of see the athlete that he is. But I think he's got great speed. He's only, I want to say, 25 years old. I guess he'll turn 26 this offseason, but 41 solo tackles on the year, had a great coverage grade of 78.5. I think that that is somewhere within the top 20 or so of qualified safeties this past year. I think I want to say it was around 13th, but yeah, he had a great year, 5 assisted tackles, 14 stops. If you're not familiar with that, that's a stop to end a drive on a 3rd down or 4th down, and 2 interceptions as well. So I feel like we're getting a player that's coming here still on an affordable contract, and somebody who hasn't played their best football yet, somebody who still has their best football ahead of them. And guys, let's not forget, these guys are going to be working with Jim Leonhard. I think we did get a big time upgrade with our coaching staff. I know a lot of people are high on Christian Parker. I think Jim Leonhard is a great hire, and probably somebody that is going to end up as the defensive coordinator here in a year or so. And so, yeah, I think that this is a move in which we're going to see this core rotation of the safety room with PJ Locke, with Brandon Jones, with Caden Stearns. All 3 of those guys really start to benefit working with Jim Leonhard. And we'll see about JL Skinner, who else works themselves into the room, but you kind of got to look at it. He might be our kind of Kareem Jackson type of replacement, but I'm excited about this. I like that we're rounding out our safety room right now on a nice little bargain budget. And again, I feel like he has some of his best football ahead of him still. Going to start the season only 26. As much as I love Justin Simmons, you could argue that if his best football isn't behind him yet, it will be shortly. And I think we are in the direction of building this thing like a real rebuild, building for the long term. Thank goodness we did not sign Kirk Cousins or anything like that. I know that there's still a lot of rumors around, will we sign Sam Darnold? That's something to keep an eye on. We'll just have to see. But I think after this signing, we should right now have around 12 or $13 million of cap space to work with. That's not taking into that is taking into the equation money set aside for draft picks and things like that. So another thing that I did want to talk about really quickly was that Lloyd Cushenberry to the Titans, so we're not able to retain him. It's looking like Forsyth is going to be that starting center, depending on what we do in the draft right now. But it looks like he is going to be that guy, and we really need players from last year's draft: Forsyth, Riley Moss. Why am I forgetting Drew Sanders? We need these guys, Marvin Mims, to start having an impact. Essentially, you could look at pretty much all of last year's draft class as a redshirt year for everybody. And hopefully we can see this year a handful of the guys from the draft class of last year having a impact on the team this year, showing some productivity. We can't have another draft class like 2020 now, where we got nobody on the roster from that class anymore. Now with Jerry Jeudy traded, so another thing that I'll probably do a longer video on here shortly. With Kirk Cousins going to the Atlanta Falcons, that opens up an ability to have a trade partner in the top 10 if we want to go get a guy like JJ McCarthy, or if somebody like Drake May falls that far, which I'm not imagining right now. But with the Raiders missing out on Russell Wilson, I don't know if they were in on Kirk Cousins. They could be a candidate to trade up if they wanted, maybe. But keep an eye on Minnesota. What do they do now? Do they go after somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo? We'll just have to see. But I would imagine that they're in on that JJ McCarthy race too. And so we might need to get ahead of them. Watch what happens with Cortland Sutton. Are the Atlanta Falcons wanting a veteran wide receiver to have there with their young receiving core? Let me go ahead and take a look at what their cap number is right now. I'll go back to sharing my screen, but I'll do a larger or longer video on this as well. Should be pretty interesting if we can get this thing to update. But hey, would pairing Cortland Sutton in a trade with 12 and another pick, would that allow us to get up to 8 to draft JJ McCarthy? We'll have to see. I'm hoping that the Broncos can go after some defensive line talent here and as free agency begins, reallocate some of that money saved to the front seven. I mean, you guys know that we need some big bodies up front. Restructure Zach Allen. Let's cut/trade DJ Jones, and let's bring in some new bodies over there, and maybe a tight end. Keep an eye out for a bargain signing at wide receiver like Tyler Boyd, or I've speculated Michael Thomas. Even if it's on just a cheap one-year deal, it would be nice to have some veteran experience in here on an affordable contract, and hopefully we can draft some wide receivers with now the 8 picks that we have. So for some reason, this isn't loading, guys. I really do apologize, but y'all let me know, how do you feel about this move? Brandon Jones coming to the Broncos. I love it. I'm a Longhorns supporter, so I think it's cool we got a secondary of 3 Longhorns, and hopefully all these guys can stay healthy this year. I want to see Caden Stearns have a great year. This is starter money for Brandon Jones, but I'm expecting and I'm hoping to see significant impact from all 3 of these Longhorn safeties on the Broncos this year. Hit that like. Of course, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Subscribe. I will be back later. And as always, everybody, go Broncos.